Powers, and you are great in America's Sweethearts, and you have deigned to come back to television as one of the voices on Family Guy, Thursdays at 8. That is big of you, Mr. Green.
That's a great show.
On Fox. Seth Green is here. Okay, Danis, Tanovic, I watched your movie last night. Terrific. It's called No Man's Land. It is the first entry for an Oscar from Bosnia, and it's a good movie. You should try to catch it. Bruce Thornton is here. He's been with us before. His book, I love this title, Bonfire of the Humanities, a professor of classics and humanities at Cal State Fresno. And Holland Taylor, we have you here, luckily, because you're about to go to your premiere of The Day Reagan Was Shot, which airs December 9th at 9 p.m. on Showtime. Give a hand to our panel.
Things got easier, huh?
Let's talk about the guy who was in the news today, Johnny Walker, not the Scot, the traitor. I say traitor because he is. John Walker, if you haven't heard, is among the captured Taliban. There was an American. They think there are two others, but this guy they have in captivity. An American. He's 20 years old. They describe him as sensitive, impressionable, soft-spoken. He was a middle-class Marin County Catholic boy, and I was raised Catholic myself, so I know he wanted to find a less rigid structure, so he went to the Taliban. At 16, he converted to Islam. I guess it was either that or the trenchcoat mafia. Studied Arabic in Yemen, and then went to Pakistan to study Islam in its purest form, with a minor in theater. I kid, of course. So, what I'm interested in, first of all, is his dad said he's a boy, really. You know, this is always the defense. You know, only in America do we insist that children are treated like adults everywhere else. You know, in school, hey, you're 8 years old, make your own curriculum. If you get in trouble at home, let's negotiate. Right. But when they get in trouble, he's a boy. You know, he's a guerrilla fighter, full beard boy.
Yeah. I don't think he's a traitor, though.
You don't think he's a traitor?
No, I don't. I think, first of all, he was a boy when he converted to Islam. He was 16. And he obviously was swept up into it as it became his whole life. So whether you call that an obsession or a calling, I don't know. But he was, when he joined that world, and indeed when he joined that army, they were not our enemy. I mean, strictly speaking, they were our allies.
Not true.
And the simple fact of the matter is, even if you get...
What do you mean they were our allies?
The Taliban was not our enemy when he joined their army 6 months ago.
Well,
yeah, they were.
Yeah, 4 years.
Not our military.
Well, first
we
of all,
were not at
the Taliban
war.
6 months ago. We weren't. It was before September 11th, but they still had made no secret of their plan to annihilate America. I would call that an enemy.
What he described it was that the Taliban was was an organization that enforced Islamic rule to the letter, which was also true as well.
Yes, but it also was...
I think you're also aware of the fact that Talibans were paid by Americans to fight Russians at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. The 80s where it belongs in the 80s.
No,
but that was the 80s. Okay.
I know, but you know, you don't know when
not
it stopped,
at war.
first of all. And second of all,
we do know when it stopped. When the Russians pulled out many years ago.
Yeah.
That's when
but the thing is, I think the 20 years old is very young, because I was 23 when war started in Bosnia. And I took a gun to fight for my home because they started to bombard Sarajevo. You know what happened in Sarajevo.
Yes.
And I was 23 years old. And I spent 2 years on the front line filming. And I can tell you I was very young. And that time I was doing things which I wouldn't do now, because I didn't think about it. And it is young. I mean, you can't just put, you know, he's a traitor. You have to see what did he do. I mean, you know,
case by
case, you can't just generalize things like that.
But that's why he's been taken here, and that's why he's going to stand
So let's see his case. You know, I think this is the first country which said, like, you know, you are not guilty until it's proven. So you bring him here, you trial him, you see what he did. And I don't agree, God knows, with Taliban and with all this thing. But you just can't go and say, you know, he is a traitor. You have to see what he did. I mean, maybe the poor guy was there and whatever, you know.
Well, technically he is treason. If you look at the definition of treason, giving aid to the enemy, technically he could be charged for treason. He won't. I'm with you on the idea that he was only 20. I mean, we have this pattern that goes back to the 60s. Kathleen Celaya, Bill Ayers, you know, well, gee, Jane Fonda sitting in an anti-aircraft gun in Hanoi and say, well, I was an idealist and I was young and I was an impressionable, but now forgive me and I'll come home and I'll go on Oprah and I'll get rich. I don't think he should be charged as a traitor, but another thing to keep in mind, we've been discouraging Pakistan from pulling Pakistani Taliban out of Afghanistan, and we're going to have to be consistent. We can't tell them, look, you can't take those Pakistan Taliban out, but we want to pull this American.
This guy wasn't a prisoner of war. He didn't go over there. He wasn't captured. He went there of his own free will.
To fight. He carried a gun. We don't know who he killed.
Whether he got but he went to a place that was saying we hate America, and whether or not he got swept up in the fervor, I think when you take a specific action, you need to be held accountable for it, regardless of your age or your influence.
I think he should be held accountable, but that does not necessarily mean found a traitor.
We live in a culture where we're really lenient, where people commit crimes. We're very interested in their psychological background and all of their influences, and it completely negates the notion of doing a crime and being held accountable for it.
He should be saying what he's saying, and you should be saying what you're saying.
Look, I was 20 years old, and I did
Last year.
crazy things.
When was that exactly?
Thursday.
But you know, we've got kids in Los Angeles who are 17 years old and shooting other people, and they get tried for murder, and they get sent to adult prison, and everyone is saying they're adults because they killed people, and you know, because this guy is a million miles away, and it's ambiguous. Everyone just wants to figure out how he was swept up in it. But Patty Hearst served trial, didn't she?
Yeah,
Patty Hearst
she did time.
And it was the same thing. She got swept up in the fervor of a movement where she was an idealist, and whether she was brainwashed or kidnapped or however you want to cut it, she served trial and she served time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's the way this country works.
Yes, but don't try. No, I agree completely that you have to be responsible, that you have to think over. But the thing is, you put this man on the trial. You put you know, he's over for you. You didn't even judge him yet. You don't know what he did. That's all. That's the only thing.
I'm not condemning it with the enemy.
He's a member of an army.
Have you seen him shooting at Americans? I mean, you know,
what else would he be doing there with them?
Well, he joined the army 4 years ago, so that is his action that we're looking at, joining that army.
No, he didn't. Not 4 years. He went 4 years ago to Yemen to learn Arabic.
6 months ago.
I think this
joined the army.
Well, okay, because he went to Pakistan to learn this pure form of Islam, and he went to one of those madrasas, which I have called before, and I will call again, a prep school for terrorism. And I think this bears out that that is exactly what it is. 6 months in one of the madrasas in Pakistan, where there are like 16,000 of them, and this is what happens. You have somebody who wants to kill in the cause of jihad, okay?
So the problem is that this whole issue is so complicated, and it brings up so many valid emotions and really serious points and problems with our country and our foreign policies, and all of that gets so confused. And this issue is very simple. You have an American who is fighting with our enemy, and that's what we need to focus on. If he's going to come back here and be held accountable and have a trial, that needs to be separate from everything else.
His dad said he wants to give him a hug, but he said, I also want to give him maybe a little kick in the butt.
I think
You're not telling me what he was up to.
That's child abuse.
Young man.
Yeah.
Okay, you commit treason and join a terrorist network. You are so grounded. I mean, doesn't that say a lot about parenting in America?
Yeah.
I want to give him a little kick in the butt for not telling me what he was up to.
But that's every parent that wants to protect their child, and they know that he's in a sticky situation, and no matter how they feel politically, they look at him and say, oh, that's still our boy, and where did we go wrong?
To that point, he's a person who got into that situation at 16, and any youngster who gets into a bad situation that is so removed from his culture and his way of life, and indeed the protection of his government and his family, at 16 is doubtless ensnared. And he may well serve time. He may well be a conscious traitor. But I would like to have him brought back here while he is back here. I would like to have him be protected and thought of very carefully. And
Yeah, we're not
you know,
going to hang him from a tree.
I think
Or skin him like the Taliban.
the initial action happened when he was 16. The initial
what?
departure, because that is young.
Oh, come on.
That is young.
It is
But still old enough to make a choice, and,
Yeah.
and I'm really exhausted by people saying that they're not responsible for their own choices.
Everybody's
and
got an
decisions.
excuse. Everybody's got an excuse.
I don't
I
say,
love it.
I don't
That
say
the voice
he's not
of reason.
responsible.
So
I
what's
don't
the
say
time
he's
when
not
you're
responsible.
responsible?
You're
He is responsible,
from
but
the
I think
six-
you know,
Look, if you're
16?
old enough to have a license by the state to drive a car, you're deemed responsible.
you have here, you
to
don't have it
operate
here.
a potentially deadly weapon.
In Europe, you're considered at 18. You're considered that you can, leave the house and do whatever you want.
Right.
In Europe, you can't do it at 16. And I think.
Okay, but he's 20 now.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
20. He's not a boy.
No, he's not.
I think
You know,
we're all saying the same
brainwashing.
thing, that he should be brought to trial, and if it's proven that he committed treason, he should be held accountable.
Right.
Okay, but don't
And
call him traitor before you did it. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Bill style. Hey.
Well, first of all, he is a traitor. He was aiding and abetting the people who were trying to kill us. If that's not a traitor, I don't know what is. And I don't care if he's brainwashed. His hair could use a little washing, by the way. All right, we got to take a
Right
break.
after
We'll
it
be
doesn't
back.
kick him the butt.
Get into a little bit about the war, because I really enjoyed your movie, which is about a different war. But the people who say war is not the answer, and I certainly champion their right to say it, and I relish the right to ridicule them for saying that. It's funny that I got in trouble for what I said, and I'm so right-wing on this, I mean, I was not dissenting. The dissenting opinion is we shouldn't go to war. And there are plenty of people in America who believe that. I've been to many college campuses where that is prevailing opinion. But, if you're going to say war is not the answer, well, it is. If the question is, how do you drive the Taliban from power? War is never something we want to go into, but at times, believe me, it's the only thing to do. It's the right answer, and it was the right answer in Serbia. We should have stuck with it more in Somalia. I think countries around the world look to us as the superpower to take boots off people's necks, and we should do it more. And I applaud what we're doing over there. I think the people over there are thrilled that war came to Afghanistan.
It's not like the Super Bowl, I mean. As far as it
No, but you have to
going on
understand.
tour.
You have to understand what he's saying
No,
is
I do.
that,
I'm just making a
that
joke.
America really has responsibility. You are the biggest. You are the strongest, and the whole world is watching at you. And if you take what happened 11 September, imagine you didn't have that great army. Imagine you were not in the position to defend yourself as you are. How would you feel if you couldn't do that? And that's what happened to us, to Bosnians. We didn't have strength. We were aggressed. We couldn't defend, and we were looking up to you to come. And you came. Unfortunately, came 4 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, and there were 200,000 people dead.
Yeah.
And I think the solution, the only real solution, because when I say I'm anti-war person, I think the only real thinking is to be anti-war in the sense that I don't want to go and kill anybody. I think it's an absurd. And I think the only real solution is in prevention of the conflicts, and they were talking about it. And there are different ways of preventing conflicts. Not letting things happen until the point in which the conflict breaks out and you can't stop them anymore.
It's nice to be in utopia.
Yeah.
I'd love to live there
not
too,
an utopia.
but we don't live in utopia.
Listen.
We live on planet Earth
No,
where
no, no.
bad guys start wars, like in your country. And when they do, what do?
You fight them.
Okay.
Well, you fight them, but of course you fight them. And believe me, if in '92 Serbs were stopped in
You're right.
Dubrovnik, there wouldn't be 200,000 people dead. In my country, 1 million refugees.
I find it ironic that the Bushes are known. People
And
come on this show and they say, "Thank God Bush is president during the war because he let Saddam Hussein go.
I agree.
Yeah.
There are responsibilities, and we have it, and we have to take it, all of us. And I just hope, and I really think this very deeply, that you're going to find Bin Laden really soon. And you're going to finish with him, and not stop only with him.
Yeah.
Right? He's not the only one.
I agree.
Because you have to know that in Bosnia-Herzegovina today, there are Radovan Karadzic and Ratko Mladic, Bosnian Serb president, and Ratko Mladic, who is responsible for 8,000 people killed in one day in the city of Srebrenica, who were protected by United Nations. They are still walking free. And when you think of Bosnia, it's this big, you know, and they, you know, they don't have too many places to hide. So there is no will to stop them by now. So I think that has to change.
Great, but you know, let's remember something though, that if we want the United States to take this role, every time the United States does this, what happens? They get criticism because they didn't do it this way. They should have done it sooner. They shouldn't have done it at all.
The criticism is that we come in and we say we're going to help you out, and then we give them some guns and training, and then we leave, and they continue being persecuted.
Yeah, but even when whatever we do, you know,
aren't we
it's
big
always
enough
wrong.
to take the criticism?
Well, I think we should. I think we should tell them tough. You know, if you want us to be the world's policeman, then that means that we're going to have to do things that people aren't going to like, and people aren't going to like us. And we have a problem of wanting to be liked.
Yes.
You know, rather than wanting to impose justice.
I think even bigger problem of America and of all European countries is that you've been treating your soldier as a ballet dancer. Oh my God! Don't let him break the land.
Amen to that. Yes. Yes.
What's wrong with you? They are soldiers. They are trained to go. I mean, if they die, well, they are paid for that. I mean, I understand, but you know, and
like
in the
firemen and
Bosnia,
policemen.
and frankly, in the case of Bosnia, you know what happened? In Bosnia, they put embargo weapon on us, so they don't let us defend ourselves, and they started to feed us. So I compared that to a woman who is being raped, you know, and all that in the name of neutrality. I compared that to women being raped. So you come to the guy who raped her, you say, don't bother, I'm neutral. Then you put lady's hands behind so she can't defend, and you give her a piece of chocolate so she can stand better while she's being raped. That's what happened in Bosnia.
That's right.
And you can't let these things happen. And my opinion, this, you know what's sick in this world? That I think I'm a humanist. And this became like political, you know, like being humanist is already like you are something in politics, which is ridiculous. For God's sake, when people are dying, when innocent people are dying, civilians, women, children, you got to stop it.
Yeah, you got to go in there and you got to kill a bunch of people. But that's what we don't want to do.
Common denominator, if you see someone who is physically powerful attacking someone who is physically weak, and that person is going to do that to the death, then you must stop him.
I think it's a big misconception that countries around the world don't want us there. I think they do want us. I think many of them are saying, please, invade us.
We just heard about the gratefulness.
Look at the world, for God's sake.
Right, exactly.
Look at the world. You have America, you have Canada, you have Europe, you have Japan and Australia. Okay? You have these 5 places in the world which live, okay, democracy, more or less, good. The rest of the world, what is it? It's hunger, it's war, it's misery, people dying of all this kind of things.
And when we are not willing to go and, as you say, spend a little capital, a little blood and treasure to take that boot off people's neck, I think that is why they hate us.
I think we're developing more understanding now since we've been...
But please don't stop.
I think
do we need really things like 11 September to start thinking about things?
Apparently so, because our country has never been attacked, ever.
Well, that's not true.
No, I mean physically, geographically.
Yes, War of 1812.
Well,
so,
not in my memory.
It didn't happen before 1980,
No, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
we are not readily available to attack, and now we are.
In case of Bosnia, there were people like me. I was ready to fight for freedom of my country. I was ready to stop, you know, bloodshed and stuff like this. But believe me, for 3 months of war, I had a gun with 3 bullets. That was my war.
I don't understand your point there.
Nobody give us weapons. You know, there are means. You can help these people. You don't even have to send soldiers. You can still treat them as a ballet dancer if you want. But, you know, change the politics.
But again, we're going to do that, and what are we going to hear? We're going to hear that America's interfering, America's imposing its values, America's being a bully.
We should be a bully.
We ought to stand up to that.
This isn't Star Trek where we can't change the outcome of other people's wars. This is where people are looking at us.
That's right. We're not living under the prime directive. All right, I am, and that's a commercial. All right, we got way behind, and that's my fault, but I found that fascinating what you were all talking about. And pursuing that, don't you think one of the reasons why there is hatred of America is because the perception, and I think it's valid, is that we value an American life so far above any other life. Whatever kind of disaster there is, whatever kind of catastrophe, over here, there are 3,000 dead. 2 are Americans. 2 Americans? That's how it's reported. Like 2 American lives equals
You know what hurts people very much? I'll explain you in this case. A lot of people come to me and say, you know, we don't really know what was happening there. So you think that's my problem? Imagine how would you feel if somebody comes to you and say, you know, Taliban's Americans, we really don't know what's happening there. It hurts, man.
Absolutely.
Your ignorance is your problem, not mine.
Well, unfortunately, it is yours too, because
I know, but you know, let's fight against it. You
Absolutely.
know, I mean, why do I need to explain and again case of Bosnia? I think it should be known. I think your ignorance is your problem. So go into school and learn. There are books, there are films, there are.
You won't learn in school where they don't teach any history. How many people can even look at a map there and identify the countries, the different religions, the history, the Ottoman incursions, all of that stuff? See, people don't know that.
Sorry, but I have to break away again. I told you I was late. All right, I just want to say that if we were really imperialists like they say we were, our flag would have 150 stars, and tomorrow I'd have the senator from Vietnam.